Hello everyone, Zellerant here, and we're just about 9 hours away from, or actually we're under 9 hours now from Etheria Restart Beta going live. So I was looking at Prydwen to kind of see what they've added on here, and they have added a lot of new stuff within here. As you can see, new everywhere. And I think they'll be very good for getting your initial look and understanding of all the mechanics. Now, I've already started kind of working on covering a lot of them, the module and shell system. I want to make like my spending guide like they have and my thoughts on the spending and that, and other little things. But today I thought I'd look at the big thing that I've seen that was brand new on here, which is their tier list here. They now have updated their tier list. Now, they don't have the reasoning for the placement of units here, but they at least have kind of a tier list on the units. One big thing, though, is it is very extensive. They're covering 7 different areas in the game. And seeing how much units shift in a tier list, depending on the content, makes sense to why they're covering 7 different areas. And we'll take a look at... I don't want to go like heavily into all the characters and stuff here. This is going to be a very general look at the tier list and my thoughts. I'm going to kind of focus on like my favorite characters and where they're at on the tier list. But other than that, I'll probably do a more extensive look over time as people get through the beta and as we get closer to the launch on different ones. So I might want to say, hey, here's my guide on this boss. Here's the tier list for that boss. And because when you look at this, you have 7 things they're covering. You have campaign and other PvE. This is probably going to be that good initial like one that you might want to look at as you're starting the game, because getting through the campaign and having a smooth time with that is going to be pretty important. That's like the most important thing at launch. So this one's actually like the one that I'm like looking at right now in terms of the characters on here. And this is subjective. Just remember, this is subjective too, though. You might have your own thoughts once you've tested out different characters in the beta. But the campaign and PvE are going to be your most important characters to kind of look at to make it as smooth as possible. They have one for the 3 bosses right now, and these are the bosses for getting your modules and shells. Now, some people might say this is you don't really need to break it down that far, which may be true to a certain extent, but I can see why. Is that some characters are like they're tier 0 in like everything, and then one of these bosses just counters them. And they go from a tier 0 all the way down here to a tier 5, which you can see 3 of them right off the bat. The main one, which I think a lot of people are going to use their starting selector on, Tiamat, is tier 5 on this boss here, Teramadan. And so she's going to be on your selector. Just know she's going to be terrible for this boss. But as you can see, she's tier 0 in just about everywhere else except Guild Boss. So I can see why they have this. And I almost want to say that, I mean, it's good. This is going to be a lot of maintenance for them to upkeep, especially as they add new bosses and stuff and new characters. But I think what's going to be more important with these tier lists is not really who's tier 0, the difference between tier 0 and tier 5.5. I don't really care about, like, this difference on these bosses. As long as you can beat this boss, especially at the hardest difficulty when you're trying to get the top, the mythic shells and the mythic modules, all that matters is you can beat the boss. So what's important on the boss tier list to me is who's tier 5. These are the characters that there's a specific counter that this boss does against them that makes them terrible. And so I know that, for example, Teramadan is going to be one of my hardest bosses to deal with, as like all my favorite units are tier 5 here. Rosa, Tsukiyomi, the free unit Linglu, and Tiamat are all terrible. Those are all my favorite units and the ones I want to get. Now, it has other ones that I really like as well, like Doiki Doiki, Lily, and Freya are all up there. And then you have at least the free starting unit we get, Lian, is going to be good at this boss. So I should be able to hopefully push this boss pretty decently. And then, I mean, you have a lot of the purple units that you should get at least one copy of that you can build your teams around. Because that's going to be the big thing, too. Just, your best teams are not going to use all tier 0s. You can't throw the kitchen sink at these bosses. They have very specific mechanics that you're going to have to build a team around. But once you get that and you can beat them, you're good to go. Now you just have them on farm. Then you have the other one here for your the guild boss or union bosses, so this tier list. And then you have PvP for your AI, so when you're fighting another person's team, but the AI is controlling them. And then you have, which I'll probably say is probably going to be, this one's going to, I think, shift a lot. And that's the PvP for your real-time PvP, where you actually have someone else controlling the other unit. And I say this one's going to shift a lot because even without new units being introduced, I think the meta is going to change over time, simply because you're going to have like the best of the best team. Hey, you want to win in PvP? This is the team you want to put together to win PvP. Then what's going to happen is some people are going to realize, hey, 70% of people are building this team. What's the counter to that team? And then you're going to see the other 30% start building the counter to the 70%. And then over time, that 70% is going to slowly start working on building the counter. And then it'll start to even out 50-50. And then you'll probably see that counter start to become the meta, where you might have 70% of the people using that counter as the meta. And then as that becomes the dominant team, whatever the counter to that new team, you're going to people start building that team. And it's going to shift over time. It's just going to be whatever's popular at the time whatever's popular at the time will slowly start to fall off as more and more people start building the counter to that. And so I think while the PvP one's going to be good, I think it's going to be constantly shifting, a constant moving target. So just know you can take these ones with a grain of salt, but it's going to be a very good idea on maybe characters you might want to target. Like Freya is definitely going to be a good one. Like all of the turn manipulation ones, support units are going to be very good in PvP. As you can see, all of them are up here on the top. There's actually, when looking at this, I will say they have pretty good balance overall when you kind of look at the table view, which kind of shows the characters, and you can kind of see all of them in a nice graph-like picture at a quick glance. Pretty much every character is bad at least at something, which means they kind of balance them around different things. And you'll see, like, they're just bad. They go from tier 0 to tier 1 on everything, and then they're just terrible at something else. So I think that's going to be like the most important of the tier list overall. What are they tier 5 in? Because there's a very good reason they're there. There's only one unit that's tier 0 in everything, and he was somebody that I've seen discussed a lot as being a very big target. I have not covered him yet because I've been kind of covering all the waifu characters, as I say right now. But that's going to be Heinrich. Heinrich is tier 0 and just about everything. And then you have Lily and Doiki Doiki, which are pretty much good at everything, although they rated them 0.5 on different things. Lily is, to me, the top unit to go for. Of all the units in the game, Lily is my favorite. I have not tried out Heinrich yet, though, to kind of see, but he is an outright PvP monster from what I can tell. But I just love the turn manipulation that Lily has. I think that's going to be very important in PvP. And I'm pretty sure these two pair well together. I'm pretty sure they have them. Yeah, they have Lily and Heinrich together. So if you get both of them, especially early game, you're going to dominate. It's going to be very hard to get both of them because they're both on the light dark banner and you can't select them. So you have to get lucky to get them initially. But eventually their banner will come up. And just know this could change. They could very well get nerfs. They could very well nerf them from feedback from the beta. So don't take that to heart. That's going to be this. It's going to be the same coming up to launch. But those are right now the big ones there. But I was kind of looking through this. The boss that looks that's going to be my biggest trouble is probably going to be Terramatan, just simply because like a lot of my favorite units are down here. Luckily, the free unit's good at him. Freya, which I will be getting for 100% for sure, is good at him. And I'm hoping I can get lucky and get one of the dark light units. I'm almost tempted. I might have to just put in polls on the random for one of them. Simply being because the pity's lower on there. And that's like going to be the most important time to pull on that banner. Simply because your odds of getting a dupe, well, especially when you don't have a single one of them, the odds of getting a dupe are 0. But once you start accumulating them, it'll be more. You'll be better off pulling on the limited banner where you can guarantee a specific unit since there's no 50-50 system. But overall, tier list looks pretty good, quite extensive. I will probably be going through these individually as I cover different things. So when I cover the boss Aurora, for example, I will utilize when I look at some teams for it, I will be kind of taking a look at this tier list as well as other people's tier list because Prydwens not everything. They have their own thoughts and feelings on it. I know other people make their own tier lists. I'll eventually make my own tier lists. But it is definitely going to be a lot tricky, and tier lists are going to be very tricky in this game, as you can already see, because there's such a wide variety, and they are willing to make bosses that are very specific counters to some of the best units in the game. And one thing, and I think I mentioned this at the beginning, but know that they don't have the reasoning here yet. So they don't say why with the review, pros and cons, and anything on here yet. But they do have the builds, I think on a majority of them, of what you might want to target for building them depending on the content you want to utilize them in, as well as some of their teams. But they do mention this is very much a work in progress here. But I will be starting to do my own coverage on these as well and my thoughts. But I think it's going to, there's always going to be a shifting in these. And I think when it comes to PvP too, I think building like non-standard and unpredictable teams maybe end up being the better teams, because once the best players are going to know all the characters' kits, and they're going to know generally how people are building them. And so if you can throw them off their game, that's going to be your best chance to beat them. To a certain extent. I mean, you can't be like completely trash and you just throw against that. But I think trying to throw off the other person with something a little bit more unique is going to be a strong suit in PvP. But we'll have to see. I could be very wrong on that. It could just be you want to build the units a specific way, and that's what's going to work the best in PvP, and it just comes down to the synergies and the teams and the rock, paper, scissors system. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I just kind of want to take a quick glance at it. I really like the tier list here. Prydwen, I always liked Prydwen. I know a lot of people don't like them. You can't take everything to heart, though, on it. Like I said, it's going to come down to the teams. Like when you pick a unit, you're going to want to see what their synergies are, because their synergies are not going to be just use all tier zeros, at least not right now at the start of the game. Maybe there'll be a point where there's a team where you use all the best of the best, but right now it's not going to be like that. You're even going to want to use purples in your teams, from what I can tell. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. I will be streaming, like I said. I'll try and get on like an hour and a half before the beta goes live. I'll probably play a little bit of like Nikkei or Girls Frontline 2 while waiting for it to go live. We'll get into that. We'll play the beta. We'll kind of try out all the different systems. Look at all the cash shop and that kind of stuff. And yeah, we'll go from there. But yeah, if you like my content, if you can like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.